Hey there, people. What's going on? I had an interesting comment from a viewer, and I appreciate your comments. I always, like to hear people, respond back to issues and topics that we discuss here on this channel. And so, just to respond to your comment, I do agree, and this is for the video, dealing with estranged families. And I do agree with what you were saying about cutting off family ties. And sometimes that's necessary. In that particular video, I was directing that video at people who have petty disagreements with family members, not serious things. In some cases, there's incestuous situations. In some cases, there's child abuse as far as physical. And there are a lot of reasons why you may want to sever ties with your family. And so this video, I'm going to follow up on that video, and this is going to be like the counter to that video, because sometimes you just have to separate from your family, for many reasons. There have been times that people have had situations, intermarital affairs and so forth. You may have a sibling, a brother or sister or something, and that person slept with one of your spouse or your girlfriend or something like that. And in those situations, the damage is so extreme that sometimes you have to take a step back and, maybe one day you guys will find a place where you can talk and work out your differences. However, because those wounds are really, really deep, right? They cut really deep. In some cases, you just want to be rid of that person. You want to be done with them. And I don't have anything against that under the right circumstances. If you're a child in the household and you were abused, in your life or something, physical abuse, right, at the hands of a family member or something, well, maybe, as an adult, when you grow up, you don't want to deal with those people, right? The sadistic, narcissistic family members that you may have. And so, it's healthy for you in a lot of cases to just sever freaking ties, right? Because these people, you don't need them in your life. So, I appreciate your comment, even though you gave me a negative comment and you disagreed with my position in that video. I'm trying to explain to you that it wasn't that I was saying that under any circumstances. I was directing that video for petty disagreements. So I'll expound on what I mean by that. When I say petty, I mean, for instance, you have a sibling rivalry with your family members or something. I mean, with your brother or sister, or just a family member in general is what I mean. And, and so you're competing with each other, right? And, this, your children are doing this, so you gotta, that person has to get their children to do something counter to that to top you. And so that rivalry creates some kind of, friction between you guys. And then you eventually compete yourselves to a point where you don't want to be friends, or you can't stand each other in the same company, in the same room or place or something. So these are situations as well that are very petty, because when you look at it, it's just a childhood thing. Maybe you guys, race back to the house or something, and and it started from stuff like that. So it's petty, right? It's not even worth it. Or maybe your mother, your father told you they didn't like your choice of a college or some type of educational thing you wanted to get into, or they shot down something, right? You may have had a hoop dream, is what I like to call them, and your family members told you that those hoop dreams weren't going to come true or something. And so you felt like they were giving you a lot of negative energy, and you wanted to cut ties because you wanted to, hold on to the positive vibes that you have, and you want to move forward. So I can understand in those situations, right, too, how you would feel. However, it's really not worth breaking off a family tie, right? And in some cases, these things happen and people don't see each other for 15 years, 20 years, right? I personally, in my own life, have had experiences with family members where I haven't spoken to them in a while. I can remember, there's situations where, like, let me give you an example, like, a family gathering, one of my relatives had a kid or something, and he wanted to show his new baby off to his aunt or something, somebody else in the family. And that person was snobbish or something, and they may have been standoffish and did not want to, meet the child, or, treated that person, callously. And so the wounds of that interaction is why they don't want to deal with that person, right? In some cases, you see success stories. This person may go on to get super rich or something, and they shun that family member. Everyone else can come around except for that person, because that person presented some negative aura in that person's mind that they couldn't handle. And until they get it together, maybe they'll talk to that person or something, right? But they're probably not going to extend any help or anything to that person, because that person, when they needed them in the time of need, that person wasn't there for them. So in those cases, I understand the pettiness a little bit, because we're humans and humans do stupid shit. And I understand that, right? But it's really not worth not seeing a person for 2 decades or something, right? Now, getting back to what I was talking about in this video, right? In situations, and I'll hone in on the situations. I just brought them up, but I'll go back and revisit them. When you have a situation where, you know, you have a girlfriend or something, you're an adult, right? You're not 12 years old or something. This is not about a girl on the playground, but those things happen too. And, you know, this is a grown-up situation, but, you know, you have a situation where you may have a family member, right? Because they don't have respect for your boundaries, which is showing that they may be narcissists, right? Because decent family members are not attempting to sleep or have sex with your spouse or something, right? That could be your sister or your brother, right? You'd be ready to beat your brother's ass if you came home and found him having sex with your wife, or vice versa, right? A woman would go batshit, right, if she came home and saw her sister having sex with her husband. So in these cases, those are extreme situations that, you know, a lot of times end in violence and stuff like that, because people get so flustered with these things and they just can't handle their emotions about it. And they get depressed, and depressive ruts come after this, and just a lot of things come after these things. So the person who's doing the infringing, right, they're not thinking about the future. They're short-sighted, right? And they're just trying to satisfy some urge they have, right? There are a million, if you're talking about women, there are billions of women on the planet. There are more women than men, right, in general. If you're talking about, you know, a guy, right, that guy is not worth your relationship with your sister, because your sister is your sister, right? And, you know, there are some things that belong to us, and, you know, some things we'll share with other people. But when you're talking about relationships, interpersonal family relationships and stuff like that, it really creates deep rifts, right? I've seen situations where, you know, because I used to counsel a little bit, and, you know, I've seen situations with these younger guys where, you know, maybe they met some girl who maybe have lied to them or something. You know, I've done videos about this, and, you know, maybe a child came out of it, right? Now, they probably didn't want a child from the start, and so they went about their way as far as taking care of their child, but they didn't want to have anything to do with the child or the mother, right? Because the mother, the circumstances that created the parentship, so to speak, the circumstances were questionable, right? If the lady lied, if she poked a hole in your condom, or did something, you know, really down low, right, and deceive you, right? Well, and all she wants is some money from you or something. Well, when you give her that money, that's all she's going to get. You're not going to be welcoming to this woman, right? You don't even trust this woman. So the child is a casualty, because the child is born, and then everyone's expecting that person to just come around and be happy and accept the family who did them in, right? And do all of this stuff. As long as that child is being taken care of under state provisions of law, right, then there's nothing more that can be asked of the other parent, right? If you want that to happen, you're going to have to effectively own up to what you've done. So if you're a woman and you've done this to a guy, if you're not willing to realize or meet him on some level where you can tell him, I deceived you, I was wrong, and I did you wrong, right? If you can't do that, then expect him not to ever forgive you for what you did, right? He may take care of that child, but there's going to come a day where that's going to be over, right? I think child support is 18 years or something. So after 18 years, if he never sees you again or never hears from you again, right? I mean, I'm sorry, if you never hear from him again, right? You can't really blame him, because a lot of you guys want to do shit to people, and then you want them to forget everything that you did and all of the fine, complex issues in between, right? Seriously though, You know, that there was a case where there was a doctor or something, and I think he tried to sue and he wasn't successful with this, but he had gotten the lady had given him fellatio or something, and he had a condom on, and so she took the condom out of the trash can. So then, this was a woman that, yeah, you may want to sleep with someone, but it's not about trying to start a family with anybody, right? People have casual sex. This is 2017. People do these things, right? So you're not looking to start a family just because you went to a bar and met a girl or something. So when these women have their own agendas and they do things to you, right? And then, the result is a child. And then you don't even see the child because you're not even on good terms with the mother. Maybe her brothers are fighting you. There are a bunch of things that are happening, and you don't even want to see this woman or the child, because seeing the child is bringing all of the stress and drama. Sometimes men go to jail. Sometimes they go through all types of stuff. So you have to be willing to realize the deep resentment that person has, because they're a person. Yeah, you may have your issues, but if you know from the onset that you deliberately hurt someone, or you deliberately lied or did something very deceptive, you cannot blame these people when they don't ever want to see you again, right? Because a lot of you will do that. You'll play this guilt trip thing. Oh, he doesn't want to do this. If he's giving you money and taking care of that child, that's all of the state will ask of him. See, the things that are precious, that are more precious than money, which you'll learn one day, right? Time and love and certain things like that, right? Those are priceless. Y'all remember that Visa commercial, right? When you see dad playing with the kids or something, and it's showing you itemizing different prices of various material objects, but then it'll show you some love situation where there's a family, and it'll say priceless. And that is what's priceless. And a lot of you guys don't realize that dynamic about life and family, right? Because you're trivial and you only want to serve your own interests. So the child suffers, right? Then one day that child grows up, and that child is resentful of the parent that wasn't there, without having any of the story that accommodated the situation or what actually occurred, right? When have you seen a mother telling a child that that she poked a hole in dad's condom and tricked him or something, and he knows she did it, like that doctor situation, right? What are they doing right now? I don't even know, right? We just heard about the reported case, but we don't know how that played out. But you can't necessarily expect this person, when you do that, to want to receive you. So in those cases, and just for that example, I can understand someone walking away from something, right? Vice versa with women, right? You meet some guy, he's flashy, he's playing you, and you find out that he has a score of other women, right? Or something like that, and he didn't tell you any of these things, right? Or, maybe he gets one of your friends pregnant, right? And then we've seen that actually happen. We've literally seen that. And then what do you see? You see those women sitting on a panel somewhere on, someone's show or something, Ayana or somebody, right? And you're looking at these people fight each other because they're upset behind something that a guy did. The guy's the asshole, right? And so the casualties of that bullshit will be the children that all of you guys have to raise. He's only one man, and it's a bunch of y'all. So all of y'all made bad decisions. So this guy was a loser. He was a bad guy, right? But you guys effectively made poor decisions yourselves. And if you can't reckon with the decisions you made, I think they eventually did that on a show or something. But if you can't reckon with your own actions, then you can't expect things to come together, because you have to meet that, right? You have to present your 50% in the problem of solving the problem, right? So in a lot of cases, when these things happen, when someone disappears or goes ghost and you don't hear from them again, right? It's worthy of that, because what do you want that person to do? How are they supposed to deal with the feelings that they have? They're resentful, right? They're uncomfortable, right? In some cases, we've seen these situations online where you may have a mother, right, who has a kid by some guy because she's in the bar and she doesn't know who the father is. It could be 10 people or something, choice of it. And then maybe 15, whatever many years later, she decides, oh, well, I think this guy might be the dad. Why would you do that to the child? See, the child is, once again, the casualty in all of these situations is that child, right? So why would you do that, right? Why, if you waited that long, right, why would you introduce the man to have to deal with the trauma, as well as the child having to reacclimate to a parent, or or something, some trauma that they have, or dealing with their doubts or resentment. Sometimes you have to let things roll on. But when you're not grounded and when you're childish yourself, you're not able to make a sensible choice about your actions or what you're going to do, right? So you expose this child after this many years to this parent, right? And now they got to go through the rigmarole of trying to get to know this child when, you know, there are a million orphans on the planet who don't know any of their parents. And some of them have gone on to be very successful. So in some cases, waking up the dead is probably not a good thing to do, right? Leave things where they are, right? In some cases, I'm not saying in all cases. In cases where other parents want to be active and participate and be a part of their child's life, that's one thing, right? But if they didn't like you from the start, if y'all were volatile right after you did everything and you said, well, yeah, I did poke a hole in your condom, or I did freaking take the condom out the trash, what do you want from that person, right? They never trust you again. You're just a low life to them. The child is not necessarily a low life. They're not thinking about that, but you're attached to the child. You get what I'm saying? So if I can't stand you, why would I even want to see you or anything involving you? Because that's going to create a situation, right? You've seen the fights. We've seen celebrities online crying and shit, right? Because they're having some type of circumstance where, you know, the mother is acting a certain way and, you know, and or saying some allegation or something. They're dealing with this shit, right? You know, can you fault them for not knowing what to do, right? And why should it always be on one person? Because both people are responsible, right? You know, and I always say, you know, the devil's in the details. The person who has the most authority in the decision, that's who we need to focus on first, right? The person who may be receiving benefits from Uncle Sam or something, that's the person that we need to focus on first. Because if that child is growing up in an environment or some bad neighborhood or, you know, or some circumstance, right, some hardship, right, who can they blame? If the other parent does not have control or have a say-so in anything, how can you blame them when something doesn't go right? When you decided from day one that you wanted to do whatever you want to do. So in some cases, right, some cases, not all, but in some cases, it's very necessary to do these things, right? To just cut ties, you know. And all types of things. You know, if you maybe have a parent or something that may have molested you or just anything like that, things that you have to deal with on a psychological level that you have to deal with, you know, those things, right? In those cases, the betterment of your health and your mental stability, you know, will be connected to those things, right? You know, you want to make sure that, you know, you're doing the right things and you're healthy, your thoughts are healthy, right? So in some cases, yeah, I'm not condoning, man. I'm not saying, you know, you're absolutely right. I'm not saying that under any circumstance you should stick with these people because they have genetic ties to you. That's bullshit, right? You know, if that were the case, you have a lot of heinous people in history who had families. And I'll always use this example. I used to use like some of these dictators that have been deposed or something. You know, that you have to think about that. You know, where they had kids, right? And they probably had an active life in home outside of their government or something they were doing, right? But if they did atrocious crimes, when it was time for them to pay a reckoning to the society, no one cared if they had a family. So that you can use that as an example right there, right? I'm not going to name any particular person, you know, but there have been people in the past, right, who, you know, governments have gone after or something for some heinous crime that they've committed in society at large, and they have children, right? What do their children think about someone coming to hunt their father or mother down or something? So I'm just trying to show you that in some cases we look at the kids and we don't say, well, that's your kid, your parent. We're not going to hurt your parent or we're not going to arrest your parent or something. People don't say these things. In society, you want blood. You want it to be off with their head, regardless if they have kids or not, right? So if you can be that hard-nosed about that position, about some dictator that you guys have deposed or something, and if you can be like that, right, overthrown, if you can be like that for that situation, then it applies across the board. It should apply across the board in any situation that involves those types of things. So cutting family ties may be necessary under the right circumstances. I hope I did a good job trying to articulate to you my difference between one thing or the other, right? If you go back and look at that video again, you will see that it's devoted only to the petty nature of people and what they do to create differences that last forever, and they're not even worth anything, right? You're not speaking because someone said your soup recipe tasted awful or something. So 2 years go by before you're even able to speak to this person again. That's stupid. That's not a reason to cut your family off. Now, other reasons, like I just stated previously, those are good reasons to cut your family off. All right? So I love your comments. Please leave them below if you have any. Like the videos and share them, of course, because I love when you share my videos, and that helps the message get further traction. And we'll be talking soon. So you guys have a good day. I just wanted to address that, viewer, and I appreciate you guys. And all of you guys out there who check out my videos, please keep doing it. Thank you. You have a good day.